because there's not enough. Wait. Listen for a second.
Oh,
Talking
I
to
can't
people.
believe you've done
Brackets,
this.
pay attention. So that way, you want to be the first person to raise your hand to answer the question? Because I don't have a lot of questions. I want to make sure everyone tries to at least get one turn for it. Alright, how do I adjust the... Alright, so think back over it. Who wrote the blue back color?
I know.
Are we
Go.
raising?
Yeah, whatever I say go. You got it, then you.
Noah Webster.
No Webster, pick a spot.
10.
9,
8. I got
Alright.
it. 6.
No, you didn't. Did you? You're...
He's on it.
And
He's
I'll
on it.
answer the next question. What type of education is it whenever the school tries to teach you the previous values and pass on that knowledge to you that way?
So,
T. Go. Wait.
Traditional.
Traditional education.
Here. 20.
Have you played this in chemistry?
No, but I moved it. I remember to go back and change it. Alright, who wrote the American Dictionary? Go. That was Ethan.
What's it start with?
really?
No.
Actually, it was.
1738.
Not Daniel Webster. Someone's gonna write that on their quiz. No.
Are they related?
19.
Are they related?
I don't think so, because they're so close.
What?
I don't think so, but I mean, I didn't check, but I don't.
They're
think so.
related.
I
They're
will
brothers.
look it
Yeah.
up
They're
after
brothers
school.
and sisters.
Alright, who wrote the eclectic readers? I
Let's
probably
start
looked it up. So, eclectic is how you say it.
Let's start with
His
M.
last name begins with M.
That's my favorite dude.
Okay. Go. Mississippi.
No!
No, I'm sorry.
What's
It's
your
not
name?
Horseman?
No.
Oh.
Okay, you're next.
McGrady.
McGreedy?
McGrady.
McGritty?
McGrady.
Oh, wait,
It's McGrady.
McGritty?
Yeah.
McGriddle.
No.
McGriddle.
Alright, anybody else want it? M.
McGrady.
That's what
No.
we just said.
Alright, McGuffey. William
I was
McGuffey.
so close.
McGuffey.
Oh, but that's what we were talking.
Write it down. Write it down.
McDonald.
Get out the paper.
Bubble
Say out because you press it. No, with this one.
Paper. Write it down.
I'm.
Nope. Write it. Get up the paper. McGuffey.
Right now, really, right?
No. McGuffey.
There we go.
First name William. William
McGriddle.
McGuffey.
I'm feeling sick.
What? Eclectic.
I'm feeling
readers.
sick. I need to go home.
Alright, who was the first secretary of Massachusetts Board of Education and he pushed for the idea of free public schools?
Is this my favorite guy?
Yes.
Wait, so,
Yay!
oh,
I'll show you one. Go!
Me.
Okay, please.
we'll start with.
Oh,
Dang it.
Who's next?
Ethan and then Dennis.
Um,
Okay. That's too loud. Remember, James gonna have her earbuds on.
no.
Okay, Ethan next.
Horseman.
Okay, how do you really say his first name?
Horace.
Horace. Okay, Horace.
Horsey man.
Alright, don't forget, his last name has two N's, so it's M-A-N-N. So don't just write man like a regular person, so just be careful from spelling. Alright,
You can't wrong to put M-A-N.
yes.
24.
Like it's wrong, or
Like,
spell it?
wrong, spell it.
24.
It's kind of wrong because you already told us like 18 times.
It wasn't since I was one.
There's one of them, we're gonna talk about this later on, there's Adams, but that particular Adams is spelled A-D-D-A-M. So occasionally the spelling gets crazy.
Alright, man,
Adam's
out.
family.
I want to point them out.
Wait,
for
what's
once
his
again.
first name from it?
What? Horace?
John.
Adams.
John.
It's a girl. Jane Adams. We'll talk about her later on.
What?
Hey,
What?
she's not here yet. Alright, what year did we have the first tax-supported high school? What year? I was on the board yesterday.
I know.
High school?
Go. He beat you and then you.
1817.
Final answer? Just making sure.
Yes.
No.
I had no idea.
It is in the
Me
front.
too.
1821.
Final answer?
Yeah.
Correct.
What a guess, man. What a guess.
Alright, what city?
Yeah, I was just picking numbers.
Oh, I'm sorry. Second
Okay,
city.
did you get it right?
Honey.
Did you pick the number one?
Oh, I don't think you did, Ethan. Think you
Nobody
did.
24. You picked 24.
I picked 24.
Oh, you did?
Okay.
Okay.
27.
Alright, where was it? Go. What city?
City?
City.
What's your
B. B. You're next.
Boston.
Boston.
Birmingham.
No.
Boosted.
11.
Yazid the drum.
Alright, what is the first university that opened? Now Georgia tried, but this university beat
First
them.
place.
Zianta is.
Go.
North Carolina.
Good job, University of North Carolina.
There's a scratch on my
eight.
ass. Who did it?
17.
That-
38.
Alright, what was the first,
Oh my
what was the first
Second time.
college for women only? Go.
Me.
Oh,
With Brecken and Ethan.
the Westland.
Women only.
Westland.
Westland.
9.
Who sits here before me?
What?
You
I
said
don't- I
that.
don't-
You
I don't
actually
sit
said
there.
that.
Mine, you don't, you sure?
Yeah, I'm 100%. I don't sit there.
There's a
I sit right
Oh,
there.
you're right, you said the middle one. Some junior higher then.
What was wrong? It is.
There's a scratch.
I'll just have it.
Um, 26.
This is precisely strong.
Is it me?
Don't press on.
I thought I
What you
just.
got? What's it?
I thought I just did the one between 3 and 15.
Okay. Alright, so what is the first college that was coeducational? Go. That was just the name.
Oberlin.
Oberlin.
Where's old is you?
16.
Alright, let's see, what is the first newspaper to gain national readership?
Oh yeah, I
Founded
know.
by
Ooh, I know
Horace
this one.
Greeley. Go.
Okay.
Barely beat you.
Is it New York City?
It's New York Times, we gotta go last one.
Start with an S.
Nope, starts with T.
What?
New York Times.
No.
Big deals.
I thought it's New York Sun.
Nope.
It's not New York Sun.
Nope.
New York. Typewriters.
Nope.
Typewriters.
New York Trade.
Nope.
Get that out of
Has it
here.
been invented?
They come up with Mark Twain. I'm not quite sure if they're
Mark
in
Twain.
this particular.
Nice.
Mark Twain is the first one to kind of really popularize the typewriter.
So we don't know who invented it.
Yeah.
I don't know off the top of my head. I'm sure somebody knows this one.
I looked that up too.
Telegraph?
What?
No, it was a
Tele-
typewriter.
Nope. Alright. New York Tribune. So, New York Tribune. Write it down.
I
Write
knew
it down.
that.
I knew
Write it
that.
down.
I
I'm
knew
good.
that.
Write it.
I'm going.
Alright, so what was the invention that allowed the newspaper business basically explode because they could transmit information very quickly?
I can write it down. Yeah, I'm waiting for that question.
Go.
Me.
That's crazy, man.
Charlie T.
Yeah.
Telegraph.
Telegraph.
I'm confirming my
Not yet.
answer.
The telephone.
34.
Whoever threw that.
The iPad.
Alright, who helped shape American literature by using magazines? So he would discover and publish America's Greatest Writers. So who is this guy?
Donald
No, last name starts on H. Go.
Who's it with an H?
H.
Hasty?
Nope. You want to guess? Raise your hand. No, Hamilton is dead by this point.
Trump.
Nope.
Hiroshima.
Alright, William Dean Howells.
Hiroshima.
Make it up with him. William
Howells.
Dean Howells. Alright,
House, like a place you live.
Howells. Like
House?
Wolf
Like-
Howells.
Never heard anybody named House.
Okay, don't do that because it's gonna pick it up on hers and it's gonna mess up her speaker. So Howells. Howells. Alright, we'll start with you. So you each get to pick one. Go.
Thanks. Let me go with Z29.
What was that?
Z29.
Alright, Brecken.
17.
Genesis.
32.
Alright, Quentin.
18.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Ethan.
yeah, yeah.
Hurry, Ethan.
7.
Alright, we'll go one more backwards. Ethan, pick another one.
Come on, not me.
This is the first way to go backwards.
3.
Alright, Quentin.
21.
Alright, Mario, cut it out.
23.
Cut it out.
15.
Alright, final
14.
guess. You sure?
Yes,
Is it for you?
It's
Is it for the class?
It's 13.
Yes.
It's 13.
14.
It's 13.
This gotta be 14.
It's 13.
Oh! How is it 14?
Alright,
It's just 14.
Alright, turn over to page 171. So, new machines and new methods. Alright, so, in this time period, you're having agriculture really start to explode because of the different inventions that are coming out. So, 171. So, make sure that you're getting number 4. So, whenever you have the agricultural advancements, why is it important? Because we're about to hit the 1900s. Does anyone know what characteristic or what is the 1900s in America particularly known for? Chris?
Things.
The Great Depression.
also, but it's also the booming.
Okay, just like the decade, like 1900s, like the 19...
The rolling-
1920s.
19 what?
The
Like
rolling
the 1900s,
1900s.
they're
World
not quite World War I yet.
World War 1 and 2.
Yeah, not yet though. So
Uh,
1900s, so like the early
The
1900s.
rolling 19s.
Cars.
Cars, so what's happening in the 1900s, early 1900s?
Ford was born.
Mailing.
Travel.
Stuff.
What'd you say?
Travel.
Okay, yeah, travel, but you're also having a lot of inventions. That's where a lot of our industries take off and a lot of our inventions kick off. So we're about to get into that era. But you can't have factories unless you have people to work in the factories. What happens?
Slavery.
No, okay.
I mean,
We're in still in the
kinda.
1800s, so we're not quite there yet. Okay, they were getting paid though, so that was the major difference between
One penny.
slave
Oh, they were?
Where did they
and the
go?
factory. Hang on, I can't focus, there's a lot of people talking. Between the true factory workers and the slaves were not getting paid besides the fact that you get to stay alive. While the factory workers, they would get paid, now keep in mind, their pay was typically only a couple of dollars, unless you were a child or a woman, then your pay was less, just because that was just how it was back then. But keep in mind that as a factory worker, you were being paid, and you didn't have to be a factory worker. You could leave and you could go be a farmer if you wanted to. If you were a slave, you couldn't just decide you were gonna no longer be a slave. That's not how it worked. Wait, raise your hand. Wait. Okay, Ethan's first.
Does slavery still exist these days?
Actually, yes, it does in
What?
different parts of the world. So it is something to where there is slavery. We don't have time to get into
Monrovia?
it. What?
Monrovia.
Okay, but there is sex trafficking and all that is still a major issue today. We don't talk a lot about it in America. But it's something to where it does still happen around the world. It's something to be aware of. That's the reason why you do need to be careful, because that type of thing still does exist. Alright,
That's why
quick
where
question.
they sold people.
Did I raise my hand?
You did a minute ago. Did you want it?
I don't remember what I.
Okay, that's
Yeah, I
fine.
have a question.
Okay.
Sex trafficking is
Mhm.
like,
Trafficking
is
how
that
you
where
say it.
people sell people or something?
Yeah, they kidnap people, boys and girls today, as a side note, so just keep in mind that you want to be aware, yes, gentlemen also as well. So it's something to where you just have to be careful. Alright, so getting into this though with the factory, did you have to have a factory worker? Now, if you work at a factory, where are you gonna get your food though? Reckon? No. Raise your
Garbage
hand.
From the factory.
The factory's gonna give you food?
No.
No, where are you gonna get, if you
Not
work
a
at a
restaurant.
factory that like works at like a textile mill, so you're making cloth, where are you gonna get your food?
It's Shirley's.
Raise, okay, you gotta raise your hand, so I
I
can't
don't know.
focus. Alright,
I'm
then
not
raise-
sure.
I'm sorry, what?
Okay, so I watched this video and it actually said that when they got their money, there'd be like these ladies on the side, the roadside with these pancake thingies. So you either got that or you had to like buy vegetables or something.
Yeah, so you have to go out and buy food. So it's not Walmart yet. Walmart does not exist yet. But it is the idea of you have to go out and buy your food.
It doesn't.
Now, what happens if you have a farmer that can't sell food? Okay.
Farmer.
Okay, so he's a bad farmer, but can the factory worker, will he be able to stop buy food if the
No.
farmer is a bad farmer?
No,
No, so what's gonna happen to the factory worker?
he has to go buy that public.
Public isn't around here, so what's he gonna do?
He starves.
He starves. What happens to the farmer as well?
He starves.
He
Because
starves.
that
That's the reason you have to have the good farmers to be able to supply not only themselves with food, you also have to supply it for the factory workers. Because no factory worker is gonna starve. So factory worker knows if there's not enough food to buy, I'm gonna stop being factory worker and I'm gonna go be farmer. Because at least if I'm farmer, I can grow my own food at this point. So that's the reason you have agricultural improvements and industry has to happen at the same time. Because no one wants to go work in a factory and starve to death. You're not just gonna do that. So that's how come your book points out that a lot of these for farmers, because cheap land was such available, they would just move farther west. Now, eventually, we stopped doing this as a nation, which is good, but they would say, okay, once the land is depleted of soil, they would just move farther and farther and farther west. We see this with cotton in particular. But you start having farmers start trying to improve and better the land. Some of them in this era start to try to figure out, okay, what can we use to use our land more for us? Alright, so we're talking about that, where you're gonna have factory workers, you gotta be able to have enough food to feed themselves, so you have to have agricultural improvements and industry at the same time. Alright, next page. So several agricultural improvements. You want to note these people and what they did. So make a note from kind of like how in science or chemistry you gotta know the scientists and what they did, you gotta know the inventors and what they did. So the first guy is John Deere. Alright, what do you associate John Deere with today?
My
Okay,
John Deere
okay.
tractor.
Raise your hand, you gotta stop. Okay,
John Deere
Ethan.
tractor.
Yeah, so
That wasn't
what
me.
it today. I keep hearing voices.
That wasn't me
over here.
singing.
It wasn't
I
you?
just said tractor.
That was
Okay,
me
don't
singing.
say tractor, because it's not your turn to talk yet, so.
Then it wasn't his either. He didn't raise his
I
hand.
did, I pointed at him. You want
I raised my hand.
I did. So make sure, Ethan, that you're paying attention and not just yelling out the answers, because there's too much talking and I can't focus if there's too much time. So raise your hand if you want to participate. You understand? Okay. Alright, so John Deere with the tractor, you're right, but he was on this time period he was known for the steel plow. This is an early invention. Now again, eventually John Deere does a lot of factory, does a lot of agricultural products, like you know a lot about, you know probably a lot of the different devices that farmers use with John Deere today, there's a bunch of them. This is the early one with the steel plow. Cyrus McCormick, make it up for him. Alright, raise your hand, what do you need of it? Chris.
Zerika.
Good job. So the reaper, and then later on a thresher was also invented to allow farmers to separate grain from the shaft. Why do you not want the shaft?
That's all I have to say, but, because you don't eat that.
No, so you gotta be able to separate them out. So the thresher, this allowed them to separate or thrash the grain from the shaft. That way you could actually use it and it saved time. Alright, what's your question?
In all seriousness, is Cyrus McCormick to do this on like the seasonings? Like McCormick seasoning?
I do not know. I'm sorry.
Because it does have like grain McCormick seasoning.
Maybe.
I'm
Maybe
looking
not.
it up.
I'm sorry. You have a long
It's on my
list to
list.
look up. Alright, so take it up. So John Deere did the what?
Zerika.
Good job. Alright, Cyrus McCormick did the what, Reckon? Good job. And then thresher was also invented later on, so make a note for those. Farmers also start, your book points out, even though it doesn't give like the actual inventors for them, you also start having like the horse-drawn, combining words, rake, mower, seed drill. You start having controlled breeding. Why do you want to have controlled breeding with the horses? Okay.
Cause, you can get a donkey or a mule, you don't want donkey or a mule.
No, and so they would start trying to breed horses like for a stronger, healthier horse that can pull a plow better. So that's when they would say, okay, we're not gonna just put all our horses together. We're going to try to start breeding them, try to see can we get a better type of horse. So improved breeding to improve their livestock. And then they also implemented crop rotation and fertilizer. So not everyone was being irresponsible with the land, but some of them saying, okay, here's my land, I'm gonna figure out how to make this work. Alright, anyone have any questions about this? I have a bunch of videos today. So this first video is about John Deere. So they talk about his early history, and they also talk about the company as well. Alright, Quentin, why don't you be the light for me really quick? Alright, no talking during the video so everyone can hear, and I gotta move, so I gotta have a bunch of videos today. I wanna get through all of them. If I pause over and over, it ain't gonna work.
How many are there?
Alright, raise your hand. Yes.
Like, are videos gonna be the rest of the month?
No, I have potentially 3 videos today. Jamie, same idea as what I told you in chemistry. I'm sorry, the video probably won't show up very well, so you can fast forward through the video if you want to. It's gonna only last about 3 minutes for this first one, or you can try to watch it, or you can find it on YouTube. That's where I got these. Alright, so the first one is about John Deere.
The ASABE 7th Historic Landmark commemorates the first successful self-scouring steel plow. John Deere was a pioneer, inventor, and entrepreneur who single-handedly revolutionized American agriculture by developing and marketing the world's first self-polishing cast steel plow. Deere was born in Vermont in 1804 and grew up to work as a blacksmith's apprentice. By 1825, he was famous for the literal and figurative polish of his farm equipment. But in 1836, when Vermont's economy began to suffer, he decided to move to the Midwest. Only 2 days after arriving in Grand Detour, Illinois, Deere had built a forge and was in business. Deere quickly learned that the cast iron plows they brought with them from the east were unable to cope with the thicker, tackier soil of the Midwest. Farmers had to stop every few feet to scrape off the damp earth that clung to the plowshare. With some help from a fellow Vermonter, Major Leonard Andrus, Deere invented a remedy. He shaped steel from an old sawmill blade for the plowshare and joined it to a specially curved wrought iron mold board. He polished both parts so smooth that the damp soil would not stick to them. Demonstrations to local farmers convinced him the plow would turn the prairie soil. Deere's self-polishing plow, later patented, was a sensation from its first trial run in 1837. Though he and Andrus soon had a booming business, Deere never stopped refining his designs. As he used to say, if we don't improve our product, somebody else will. An ASAE commemorative plaque is located at the site of the John Deere blacksmith shop in Grand Detour, Illinois. A replica of his shop is open to the public and looks much as it did in 1836. By 1855, Deere was selling over 13,000 plows per year. He died in 1886, but the corporation he formed in 1868, Deere and Company, survives as one of the nation's oldest and largest manufacturers.
Okay. Alright, anyone have questions about it? Alright, so again, just kind of like a brief clip about it. Alright, Quentin, you can get the lights again. Alright, so changes in southern agriculture. So your book talks about the cotton gin first off in this section. So this wasn't the only major crop in the South, but this one was a very much a key one. So the British industry was already focusing, and they were already going through their industrial revolution. They were already having factories, and they needed a lot of raw resources. They needed flax, wool, especially cotton. And so because of that, they were paying good money for cotton. Now, in the South, in this time period, cotton was not particularly profitable because it took so long to pick out the individual seeds. How many of you have seen cotton before? Okay, good. Pretty much everybody for it. So, this is what cotton looks like whenever you find it. So this is what a regular like cotton stem looks like. So this is the seeds part for it. Now, why do you think it's fluffy? Just think about it with biology. So raise your hand. Why do you think it's fluffy? Okay.
Because the air is inside.
Okay. So why do you think that it's designed so that way it makes this fluff? Like cotton is supposed to be fluffy like this. Like why? You're right that it has basically like the fibers that it's designed with, but why do you think that this is why cotton is the way it is? Anyone remember what types of dispersal in biology? How seeds get spread around?
Is it mechanical dispersal or is clouds everywhere?
Okay, that's whenever it explodes. Do you remember what the other one is? Whenever it uses like wind to blow it?
Natural.
Close agent dispersal. So this one never uses something. So cotton is designed where the wind kind of helps catch it and helps pull it or spread it out that way. Now, you're right that you can't separate the fibers of cotton, but it is a pain. Now you can see it for this one, the seeds on the inside of it. If you take individual cotton pieces, you can feel that there's seeds embedded on the inside. And originally, for a slave or a person to go through and to pull out all the seeds, it would take hours. So originally, it wasn't profitable. Even though the British were paying a lot of money to get cotton, it would take a slave so long that the South said, this isn't super practical. It's worth a lot, but the amount of time it takes is ridiculous. Your book points out that the cotton gin, that originally, it would take a slave, he could only make 1 pound of cotton a day with pulling out all the seeds. That's how long it took. With the cotton gin, it really sped up the process. Now, if you look at the cotton gin and Eli Whitney online, a lot of people hate him, but keep in mind, that's because he was the inventor of the cotton gin. Now, Eli Whitney, he invented the cotton gin because he noticed how long it took the slaves, and he said, okay, that's a tedious process to go through and to pluck out each individual cotton strand. So I actually give this to my students every year for everyone to be able to have a little bit of cotton. And you can see how long it takes to pull it out. You don't have to, you get to keep the cotton though. You get to keep the cotton. So this is your, if you don't want to, you don't have to. So students always ask me every year, am I doing slave labor? No, you don't have to.
I don't want it, I'll
if you
take
don't want to.
repeats.
But if you want to keep your cotton, you want cotton. Okay, if I let you do this during class, you still have to focus. So if you know that you have problem focusing, you're gonna have to put it away in a minute. Because you can't do this, because I had a student do this one year, and the next year, and the next day, that person did horrible on a quiz, because he did not hear me for like the rest of the period. He was so focused on his cotton. So make sure that you still keep your
So
focus.
we're gonna have a quiz tomorrow?
Potentially.
Yes.
I think I might have given you too much, Ethan. Hang on, I'm gonna have to come back and take some of your cotton
She's
back.
smiling. That means she's right when it goes wrong.
Probably. Good. So you know you have which quiz tomorrow?
Present.
President's quiz, so make sure you're studying for President quiz. Alright?
I've always wanted guys.
Why?
Why?
What? I haven't felt that, but I mean, I work with this every year, maybe I'm just gonna alert you if you want cotton.
Isn't there pokers on cotton? No.
This is real.
I got it from a farmer's field.
You stole it?
No, because he already
You
went
stole that
through
farmer?
and he pulled all of his cotton off. Farmers don't pick cotton by hand anymore, nobody does. So, once they go through and you can tell that he's already, you may have my messed up.
Oh my God.
You can feel like.
Did you know the
Wait,
seeds taste good?
you're supposed to feel. Oh wait, the
I'm
seeds are
kidding.
kidding. Don't eat them.
Yeah, so, and then keep going through it. You'll keep feeling little balls of like hardness in your
Yeah.
cotton. That's still the cotton seeds. You gotta go through and
This
get
is the seed?
all of them. Yep.
I want to go ahead with some.
You have to hold without ripping the cotton, I guess.
Well, I mean, it's fiber. You can push it back together. It's like cotton balls. So I mean, you can push it back together and it'll re-stick. If you pull it apart, you can re-stick it back together. But that's what the slaves would have to do. They would have to go through and separate out every single one. Now yours is pure, but you know it's gonna get dirty if you do that. Okay, your cotton.
When
Yeah,
it
this
starts
is
the closest we're gonna get to a field trip this year.
with Corona, it's a good possibility.
I've seen a cotton field,
You go where?
and I saw one like 3 years ago, and I've always said I wanted cotton, and I never got one, and now I have cotton.
Are you really crying? I'm happy for you, Genesis. I'm glad for you happy.
It's cotton.
Maybe when I get food.
I'm
It
sensitive.
was so pretty, and I was like, I want
That's
some.
I can't picture you don't like.
Yeah, it is really pretty. Now, a lot of people don't like cotton because of what it has been used for in the past. And so it's one of those, but it's not like the plant is evil. Like, the plant can't help that
It just
people have
symbolizes
used
something.
it. Well, even I don't even know if cotton is necessarily a symbol of it. Now, it is unfortunate that that's what caused slavery to basically explode. And again, a lot of people hate Eli Whitney, but Eli Whitney just made an invention to make that process easier. Now, he didn't go through, that's what he said. He said, he looked at it and he went, wow, that's a pain. I'm gonna make an invention to make that easier. And so he invented the cotton gin, so that way the slaves and other people could separate it out a lot quicker. And unfortunately, this now made cotton super profitable for the South. Keep in mind, is Eli Whitney responsible for what other people use his invention for?
Nope.
No. So it is unfortunate that people took his invention and said, wow, we can use this to make a ton of money if we have slaves. And that's not really what he intended. So he intended just to make it easier for the slaves because he realized how long it takes. And so that was, whenever I was looking it up, that's what it seemed like that was his major idea. It wasn't like he was trying to like instill slavery. It's just unfortunate that that's what happened and that's what happened for it. Alright, so your book points out with the cotton gin, one slave could clean up to 50 pounds of cotton per day, and then once they started switching over to steam power, that you could have one slave clean over 1,000 pounds of cotton. So it literally caused it to explode in the South for it. And that's the reason why you had states switch over and say, okay, forget indigo and rice, we're not growing those crops anymore. We're gonna grow just cotton. Britain is paying a ton of money for cotton. We're gonna do this now. We can get a ton of cotton really, really, really easily. Unfortunately, this established slavery in the South. Before 1800s, a lot of people thought slavery would die out because it's expensive to own a slave.
Why?
And so, well, you gotta keep them
Yeah,
alive. You gotta
you don't.
feed them.
If they're weak, they can't do anything.
Yeah, so you gotta feed them, you gotta clothe them, you gotta take care of them. If they get sick, you gotta go get a doctor. So it's something to where if they said, okay, this is expensive, and a lot of the founding fathers said, okay, this will probably die out in a couple of years if we just wait around for it. And in 1808, they'd already made it illegal that slaves couldn't come over and be brought over into the United States anymore. So all the slaves had to be born in the United States to be a slave. But unfortunately, with the cotton gin, the people of the South, a lot of them said, okay, this is worth it now. I will buy a slave, and then this person can run my cotton gin, and I'll make a bunch of money off this. And so a lot of our founding fathers thought slavery would kind of die out on its own, but it didn't. And part of the reason was because of the cotton gin and because of cotton, and that's the reason why it basically exploded in the South. Also, some people were so dedicated to owning slaves because it was a good way to make fast, easy money in the South. Alright, so your book points out though that the importation of slaves from abroad was cut off though in 1808, but cotton production in the South exploded with the production of the cotton gin and with cotton. Not all of them grew cotton. Your book points out indigo was still a major crop, rice, hemp, sugarcane, but cotton was turning into the dominant crop of the South. Yes.
Hemp marijuana.
Yep.
I love that.
Alright, so just make that little so tobacco, rice, hemp,
What?
sugarcane, so just make that word. Alright, it'd be appropriate, Genesis. No, it'd be appropriate.
No.
Like, go for yourself. Just be honest.
Yeah, be honest, but just make sure that you are being appropriate in class. Yes, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
Alright, so we're gonna watch a quick video about Eli Whitney. So, again, he is mainly known for cotton gin, but he also did other things as well. And my book talks about that, the teacher's edition. So this video does a lot of talking about what else he does as well. He's known for kind of starting the assembly line process, not quite as Henry Ford is known for it more, but he kind of got a jump start on it. On the voice. Sorry again, Jamie.
Eli Whitney radically changed both agriculture and manufacturing in America during the 18th and early 19th centuries.
Eli Whitney is best known for his invention of the cotton gin, which revolutionized the cotton industry in the South.
He's also
Why don't you put some water?
Get wet cotton.
How is it actually wet?
Oh, like, well, I mean, your shirts, a lot of these are made of cotton and polyester, so how long depending on how thick it is. If you have pure cotton, it hangs on to moisture really. If you've ever had like an actual like full-on cotton shirt, that thing takes a while to dry.
Takes like 2 washes, two
Ours is
washes.
normally wet.
For the idea of interchangeable parts, which really helped initiate factory production and the second wave of industrialization.
Born in 1765, Eli Whitney grew up on a farm in Westboro, Massachusetts. After attending Yale, he got a job working on a tobacco plantation in South Carolina. With the tobacco market in decline, Whitney's employers turned to a new cash crop, cotton.
In that area, they had an abundant supply of cotton. However, cotton has lots of seeds, and it took hours of manual labor to remove those seeds and then spin the cotton into a fabric.
Eli Whitney was a gadgeteer, and what we would call an inventor today. He realized that this was a very laborious process and developed a simple machine, the cotton engine or cotton gin, to separate the cotton from the cotton bolls.
The cotton gin was a simple machine which was able to mechanically separate the fibers from the seeds 10 times more efficiently than a slip. It wouldn't have been possible to establish the cotton industry in the South without this device.
Its more efficient production of cotton called for greater demand for hands to produce the cotton and to harvest the cotton. The cotton gin led inadvertently, quite tragically, to the explosion of the slave system, which had been on the wane in the late 18th century.
Whitney patented the cotton gin in 1794, helping to install the device in cotton plantations all over the South, and charging farmers 2/5 of the cotton profits.
Because Eli Whitney's cotton gin was very simple, people then tried to infringe on his patents, and they developed their own versions of it. So Eli Whitney spent a large fraction of his life suing people who were trying to infringe on his patents.
Since Whitney had such a hard time receiving profits from his cotton gin, he went into the arms business, and in 1798 won a congressional contract to build 10,000 muskets for the U.S. Army.
In Eli Whitney's time, every item had to be made from scratch, and its parts were self-contained.
Building 10,000 muskets as individuals would take an enormous amount of time. That's where he conceived the idea of interchangeable parts. So you make 10,000 triggers, 10,000 barrels, 10,000 rifle butts, and then put them together as needed.
This introduced the concept of assembly and revolutionized mass production.
Late in life, Whitney wed Henrietta Edwards, and together they had several children. 8 short years later, Eli Whitney died on January 8, 1825. Today, Eli Whitney is often considered the father of American technology.
Eli Whitney has an important legacy as symbolizing the constant innovative tendency of the Industrial Revolution.
While most people remember him for the invention of cotton gin, it's really the concept of assembly and interchangeable parts that truly changed the world.
Alright, so, anyone have any questions about Eli Whitney?
I have a question.
Okay.
If I plant this seed, will it grow high?
I don't know if we're in Georgia, so possibly it might grow. I have not tried to grow cotton, so maybe you can try it, cause Georgia's supposed to have a good climate. You can try it and see how it goes. I'll look up to see if you need anything in particular for it, but Georgia has the right climate, so you can't. I think it's too late in the year to start it now, but it's one of those, if you wait till the spring, it should be fine.
You guys still shorts?
Yes.
I'm done.
Hey, I mean, sometimes it's not a race.
I already finished.
It's not a race.
It's not a
Did
race.
I do that? No, I have mine still.
You can still keep it, it's fine. It's
Yeah,
your
all
piece of cotton, so you can,
Now I
so you
got
can
a
keep it
cotton
together.
ball.
Yep. I forget, the students last year, they hung them up in their lockers and like kept them there for like a full year
I'm
because
gonna
they
do
like,
it. I'm gonna hang it in my room.
what do you mean does it die?
I'm gonna hang it in my
It's
yard.
fine.
Rubber.
It stays the same.
Yeah, it's like,
Is your shirt gonna die?
Does your cotton balls die?
Do you die?
yes. But yeah, so I mean,
What?
it's just like your shirt basically, it's just like a cotton ball, okay, don't choke, don't choke.
You're in
No,
he
it
said,
is.
he said watch closely. Well, it is.
Sorry, what? Thank you. Okay, you can keep it. Alright, but yeah, no, that's yours, you can have it, it's fine.
Are you a trash can?
I'm so
Why do you need a
happy.
trash can?
Wipe off the desk.
Can you do it quickly? Sure. Alright, cause I know there's some of you will distract you.
I'm
Alright,
ready
so,
to go.
any other questions about cotton though before we move on?
I'm happy, thank you.
I mean, why do you want so much cotton? Take
If
out
you
one
just
of
make
your
her
shirts.
happy, it's okay.
Just take out one of your shirts.
I'm gonna take apart my shirt.
I mean, it is. No, if you check your tag, your shirt probably has polyester on the inside of it too. Your shirt is probably 90% cotton and 10% polyester. That's what most of like your t-shirts are made of today, so it just depends. Alright, so, industry. So, we're switching over with the American Industrial Revolution. Now, England was already going through it. That's the reason why they're paying so much money for pipes, in particular for textiles, because they already had factories designed in order to make cloth. Now, we're starting to switch over to that, saying, okay, instead of making everything by hand, we're gonna have a machine make it, and if a machine can make it, we're gonna switch over, instead of making it at home, we're gonna make it in a factory. Anyone remember what do we call it whenever it's manufacturing at your house? We talked about this previously.
Isn't it like, what's our,
D.
D?
D.
Domestic system.
Yep, domestic system. So we're switching over from domestic system to factory system. If you want to mark it at the top of the page on page 73, you can, because it's just give it to you again. Alright, so Britain said no. No one needs to know how to make our textile factories. Parliament actually passed laws which forbade the exportation of machines or plans for machines, and they actually said that if you are a skilled machinist, you cannot leave Great Britain, because England realized, no, this is our thing. If the rest of the world figures it out, we're gonna lose our monopoly on this. So you couldn't sell parts, you couldn't sell plans for the machines, and if you were considered a skilled machinist, you were not allowed to leave the country. You were now basically trapped in England. What?
What happened if you did?
You weren't allowed to. One guy actually did make it out. So Samuel Slater, you would point out that he basically escaped to America because Americans were offering money saying, hey, you can come over and tell us how to do a factory with the textile industry. We'll pay you money. Come over, and someone needs to come over and tell us how to do this. So Samuel Slater, he made it over to the United States, and he made it to Delaware, and that's whenever he said, okay, I can tell you how to build a factory. He memorized the plans over how to build a textile factory, and he told them, I can write them back out. I can give you the plans over how to build this factory and to make it run properly. He memorized all the different parts for it. That's the reason why he came over to the United States, was he knew that he wouldn't be allowed to leave England if he had the plans with him. So he escaped by himself over into America. It's kind of funny because if you go online and look him up, the British people consider him a traitor today because he basically gave America and gave Americans the technology to start their own industrial revolution. So he's considered a traitor over in England. Yeah, basically. So they have.
Hated?
He's not that. I don't know if I would say it like he's that hated, but they definitely talk about how this person went over to America and established the industries over in America, and we had a monopoly over here first, and so he was a traitor to his country. But I mean, it's okay. He's an American now, so it's fine. So if you want to remember him as Samuel Slater, the traitor, if that helps you to remember, whatever. But it's kind of funny just because they still view him as he was a traitor to the British Empire at the time. So Samuel Slater, he told Moses Brown, that was the Quaker merchant, I said Delaware, he was in Rhode Island, that said, hey, I can give you the plan, I can help you build it. And they still have that factory, it's kind of like a museum. So, just make a note for him, because of this, that he helped design and basically memorize and then spit it back out America's first textile factory, that he's considered the father of the American factory system. So make a note for that. So the father of the American factory system, telling them this is how you make a factory. In particular, the textile industry is saying this is how you get it set up, this is how you run it. Alright, I think I have time for my last video, so we're doing good on time for it. Sorry again, Jamie.
Can we put our books up over now?
Make a little bit further with conventions. So not quite yet. I didn't give you the light for me again. Thank you.
Pause the video.
Like 3 minutes. It's an advertisement for the National Park in Rhode Island. So, but they talked about it.
Sorry, we'll Samuel.
Come to Slater Mill to see where modern industrial America began. In 1790, Samuel Slater, collaborating with local mechanics, built machines that used water power to spin cotton into thread. A key to Slater's success was running a multi-step production process off a single power source. It was America's first successful water-powered cotton mill. The impact of Slater Mill changed how people worked, where they lived, even how they were paid. It was the first step in making America an industrial power. Slater Mill was the pioneer that led to the steel mills of Pittsburgh, the auto plants of Detroit, and the technological advancements of Silicon Valley. Today at Slater Mill, you can see the transformation from handcrafted to machine-made textiles. You can marvel at machines still powered by the waters of the Blackstone River. You can sense the spirit, ingenuity, innovation, and enterprise that makes America great. It all started right here in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Come and discover the Blackstone River Valley.
Anyone have any questions about Samuel Slater? Alright, last couple of people really quick. Alright, so the factory system takes root. So, your book points out again that as you have more and more that this particular starts to take root in New England area in particular, why do you think factories are more, I guess, common in the New England section or the north as opposed to the south or the middle? Alright, Chris?
Because the north is richer than the south.
Okay, dividing that.
They're smarter than the south, they have better education.
Not really, because a lot of them had education. Now, you're thinking more of because there's more people in the north, that they have more like schools, but there were still educated people in the south, unless you're, no, we're not going there. Alright, so, like, you are, okay, thinking about it with
Protestant
resources.
work ethic.
What?
Protestant work ethic.
Yep, Protestant work ethic, or with the idea of Puritans. Now, there is still some of that in the south. Remember, what was the major church of the south?
Methodist? No, Anglican.
Anglican, and so Anglican, but yeah, it's the idea that it's okay, and that's part of the reason as to why you have you have the Puritan work ethic. Also, keep in mind, thinking about it with resources. What do they have a lot of in the north? Anyone know?
Water.
Raise your hand.
Cotton.
Wait, I don't remember. Cotton's mainly in the south.
Yeah, that's good.
So that's part of the reason as to how come they had a lot of water. They had a lot of wood for fuel as well. Now mainly they're using water. Eventually they will start switching over to coal. Coal's not quite a thing yet, but they're going to switch over, saying, okay, we're going to use water power. They had a lot of waterways and they had a lot of waterfalls, so they could use water to run their machines. They can't use electricity yet because electricity hasn't been really established with Thomas Edison yet, so they can't use that particular thing, but it is coming for it. So, your book points out more and more of New England population became urban or city dwelling because their parents would work in factories and kids would go to school, or kids would work in factories because it was the time period that it was. And so, you would have people going off into factories in that section. In the south, it was mainly cotton, so there wasn't a whole lot of factories down there. In the middle colonies, they're starting to switch over to it as well for it, with them doing more industry too. Alright, a couple more inventors. So, Francis Cabot Lowell, make a note of him that he invented the power loom. This one would enable weavers to keep up with the textile factories. So, they would weave the cloth together. Alright, Eli Howe, he invented a much improved sewing machine. Do not get him mixed up with Isaac Singer. Isaac Singer, he improved the sewing machine to make it practical for at home. So, there's two different sewing machines with two different people. So, it's kind of confusing. So, Elias Howe, he invented the much improved sewing machine, just for like in general use, while with Isaac Singer, he made it for home use. How many of you have a sewing machine at your house? Okay, you might not know. Okay, you have a sewing machine at the place where you live.
No.
Okay, so that's the idea, is that okay, that he made it practical for you to be able to use it at your own house at that point. Alright, forget about Isaac Singer and then we'll stop. Alright, who wants to read Chris? Alright, Chris.
Isaac Singer is credited with making the sewing machine into a common household appliance. In 1850, Singer and his business partners decided to improve an earlier model of the sewing machine and patented it a year later. He began selling sewing machines through the I.M. Singer and Company, and by 1860, Singer Company had become the largest producer of sewing machines in the world. In 1863, Singer business became the Singer Manufacturing Company. Although he lost a patent suit brought against him by Elias Howe, he still continued to make sizable profits. Singer was also one of the first businessmen to institute an installment credit plan. Isaac Singer's sewing machine became common in American house.
Yeah, I left by accident. Make a note of James Watt and Oliver Evans. I forgot their top this page as well. So Isaac Singer, make a note for him that he's one of the people making it common if you have a sewing machine at your house. Alright, James Watt, make a note for him real quick. I forgot their top of this page. So, first practical steam engine, make a note for him. So again, using steam, not quite there yet. Now remember, some of you might recognize the watts from physical science. You don't know what unit the watt is for. Right? Close, not quite. What?
What's solid?
P.
Power.
Power. So that's where that one comes in. So James Watt, that's what comes named after him because of his work with the steam engine. Alright, Oliver Evans, he developed the high pressure steam engines, that's slightly different. Alright, anyone have a question about this? Alright, really quick, look at your presidents, because I want to make sure that you're going over these, because when is this quiz? Tomorrow. Alright, so where are you starting at? Which one? What's the first one?
After Harrison.
Washington.
Roosevelt.
McKinley.
It's after McKinley.
Taft.
No,
Roosevelt.
Roosevelt, so it's
Come on, bro.
Theodore Roosevelt on down. Let's say these, just so that I know that you're thinking about them, and I don't want you to forget. You can
Just last name or first name?
unless there's duplicates, there's a couple of duplicates in
Are we
this one.
saying just last name?
You can say just last name, so 26 down, ready? Again, Theodore, I'm sorry, I said last name only.
Roosevelt,
Alright, let's try again, ready, begin.
Roosevelt, Taft, Wilson, Harding, Coolidge, Hoover, Roosevelt, Truman, Eisenhower, Kennedy, Johnson, Nixon, Ford, Carter, Reagan, Bush, Clinton, Bush, Obama, Trump,
Alright,
Biden.
again. Not yet. Alright, 26 forward, ready, begin. Roosevelt, Taft, Wilson, Harding, Coolidge, Hoover, Roosevelt, Truman, Eisenhower, Kennedy, Johnson, Nixon, Ford, Carter, Reagan, Bush, Clinton, Bush, Obama, Trump. One more time, then I'll give you your homework. Not yet. Alright, going forward, ready, begin.
Roosevelt, Taft,
Wilson, Harding, Coolidge, Hoover, Roosevelt, Truman, Eisenhower, Kennedy, Johnson, Nixon, Ford, Carter, Reagan, Bush, Clinton, Bush, Obama, Trump.
No. Alright, so, not yet because you're writing your quiz tomorrow, so it doesn't count. If he wins on Tuesday, we'll add him in, but we need to track the directions. Alright, so, let's go.
We need to wait until after Tuesday.
No, we're gonna
Come
do
on.
that.
He's
No,
doing it on Wednesday.
no.
Let's see another person
No.
we can learn.
No,
US
we'll add
history.
them for the quiz in the spring whenever you gotta write all 45 out.
Alright, that's right.
If there is a 46th one, then you can add them in.
If.
It will, because remember, if President Trump wins again, then he
It's
doesn't
still
count like
45.
double, it just counts as just 45. Alright, so your homework for tonight,
Trump-
read pages 175 to, you get homework. Page 175 to 180, 175 through 180. Alright, 180, 1 through 11. You'll be fine. 180, 1 through 11. There's lots of inventors
We've
in
done
this
14
section.
before.
Yeah, there's a lot of inventors. You need to start knowing
We've done
people.
16 before.
Yeah. Alright, 1 through 11. So don't forget. Presidents tomorrow, study. So read pages 175 to 180. Page 180, 1 through 11. Study presidents.